Good morning. This is Norma Cowie, and you are watching my YouTube channel. Today, we're expanding on the symbology of the tarot. Last week, we looked at numbers 1 and number 2s, how they work together. And today, we're looking at number 3s and number 4s. Just in case you didn't see last week, so I'm just going to give you a brief outline of number 1 is always the beginning. So whether the number is 1, 10, or any other one, my brain has gone a little numb on that because I'm working on 2s and 3s. I mean, on 3s and 4s today. But 1 is always about beginning. Beginning, whether it's a new beginning, whether you're beginning a new vibration, whatever you're beginning. And that all it requires. And you can always look back to last week and see what all that was about. The same with number 2s is always about balance. Also, a part of that talks about the decisions that you're making, but that's almost like a side issue. But the basic thing is about balancing. Are you balanced? Do you have a sense of perception of where you're heading? And so you come to number 3. Now, if I put my 3 fingers up, you'll see they're there. And so 3 is very much an energy number, a movement out. And so we're going to start with the wands, which is your thinking. Here in the number 3 of wands, the symbolism is of the merchant is on the hill, looking out at a sea in which 3 boats are moving out. He has 3 wands very much rooted in the ground. And he's got his hand on one of them. Now, what this tells us is that, I will just say if it's you, getting this symbol for yourself, your ideas are firmly planted and you're projecting them out. Now, it doesn't say you're going to be a winner. It doesn't say you're going to be successful. It says you've got your ideas moving out. And it's an important stage for that because a lot of people have all these ideas and then they sit on them. And then they wonder why it doesn't happen. A lot of that is because people just say, if you think it, it is. And that's not, to me, it's not absolutely accurate. Because as the symbology here shows, you need to do something. You need to project it out. You need to make some steps, whether it's picking up the phone, whether it's writing a letter or a text or something. You've got to have some form of movement. 3s have movement. Now, wands are your ideas. Cups is the value, whether you feel happy or sad. And so here, hang on a minute. I think I got this way. Here we have 3 women actually with their cups raised high and they are dancing. Now in this one here, I got at the wrong end, reverses the pictures and I get confused. Doesn't take much to make me confused sometimes. Is holding grapes in her hands. Grapes is abundance. So this is value of life. These girls are happy. They've got everything in alignment. They're just happy and they're abundant and everything is work. And there's lots of symbolism on the ground too. It reminds me of when I was a child and they had a harvest festival in the church I went to for a few years, and everything came in, everything was flush, everything was good, everything was happy. High summer at the end of summer's harvest festival, but it's like everything has come into fruition. Everything is here to enjoy and to be. Now, on the other side of things is the 3 of swords. Swords are the problems and challenges. Now, if anyone could tell me they can live their lives without having any problems or challenges, I would either think that they are not being realistic or they actually have a very blessed life. But most of us have challenges at one point or other. Here's the heart with 3 swords going through it and rain and sleet, like it's not very happy. When we have problems that come in, and usually often come in unexpectedly, is that we are not happy. So what do we do with that? Well, we will see as we move on exactly what we need to do with that. But these are demonstrating conditions that you will find in your life. The lower arcana, of which there are 56 symbols of them, they show the conditions regarding these four suits. This says you're sad, you're upset, you can't see the end. You just think this is all there is. So it's kind of like being stuck a little bit, being stuck. Now, the three of Pentacles, and Pentacles is more of your material world, your money, finances, things like that, has a similar ring of the swords. Now, and I'll come back to the difference between the first two and now these two. You've got the merchant who's working away, or the workman. He's not the merchant, sorry. He's the workman. He's working on what looks like an abbey or a church or something. And beside him, there is the designer of this in a very colorful robe, and the priest or the monk, whichever you want to see that as, and they're talking to him about what's happening. Now, what's significant is this here, the three pentacles almost together, but they're not colored. Most of the pentacle symbologies are colored yellow for gold, for, the sense of being. So this is work in progress. And it's because it has a very black background, it really doesn't show you how this is going. You don't know what the architect is actually showing. Does he want the workman to work something different? Is it being prolonged? Is it changing? We don't know any of that. Other symbols will show that in a reading for sure. But this is really about coming to almost like a stop, like you're working on your plan. If you remember the three of wands, the plan's going out. We enjoy, we rejoice when it comes in. But if we hit a snag, we're going to be upset. And what do we do with that here? Because sometimes what we find here, it's again, very black background. There's no light in this symbol of the Three of Pentacles at all. It's like following a plan. And what I often find when I'm reading, I'm just going to show you this again here. Quite often when I'm reading, my eye goes to the scroll, the plan. When you, back here at number 3, the wands, you create a plan, right? You're projecting it out. You're following a plan, and you want it to be successful. 3 of Cups. But if it isn't, becomes like the 3 of Swords. Here, I find very often, I'm looking at this map kind of, well, that's really the plan. We don't follow our plan. We get all sidetracked. We get busy with other things and we forget the basic plan. And so very often with this here, it's like, because the lower arcana is very much to do with day-to-day routine and how things are working, that it's like we get caught up. Like, here's the workman working away, and then the priest as I always say, is the person that designed the thing comes and says, look at the plan. Why have you done this when it's like that? And the workman's going, what? Now, there's other interesting thing which sometimes shows up for me in readings. See this mallet that the workman, well, you can't see it down there. This mallet and the workman, if you look very closely, and I'll bring it close, there's the blackness of the background, and it looks like that's a cup, everything is falling out. Whoosh. There's something that's going incorrect here. And when we look at the fours, you'll be able to see a little bit of how these begin to work into each other. And I find very often the plan is the key here to make sure you're following your plan. Every New Year's in particular, most of us sort of sit down and maybe goal set for the year. And by the time you get to March, April, May, in particular June, it's like, what were those goals? What have you done towards those? So this is kind of like that here. It's like, if you follow the plan, projecting your ideas, celebrating the reward of that, that's fine. But if you're hit obstacles, you got to go back and take a look. What was the plan? Are we following the plan? Are we making the plan work? Now, that's a lower arcana, which is dealing with just day-to-day stuff. Then we get to the philosophical. Number 3, it's one of my favorites, the Empress. On her dress, she has flowers with beautiful flowers, actually, with it. And anyway, it's just ripe. This is like love in action. This back in here, I got my finger right there. That's a shield showing the love source, the Venus. Her back behind her, there's all sorts of crosses and things. This is the love source in action. She's sitting there with her beautiful dress, also full of these beautiful, gosh, I used to know the name of these flowers. But anyway, beautiful hair. Her headdress is full of the stars of the universe, and she carries the world. This is love in action, growing, sitting on the sea of wheat. So when you see number 3 as in the Empress, it's like the love force blooming. And if we were to look back at number 1 of the Harakana journey, the magician is recognizing there is a force. The number 2 is deciding if they're going to go learn more about that force. Number 3 is they bring that force inside and celebrate that force. Number 3 there. But number 12, which is also a 3, the journey has gone on a little bit. Now, part of the love force that I teach about is about acceptance. And if you've watched any of my shows over time, you will hear me talk about acceptance ad nauseam, because I find we don't accept things. We always want things to be the way we want them to be, then we get upset when they're not. Here, this is teaching us that pure love is acceptance of what is. Now, let's look at the Hanged Man. He's hanging upside down, but he's got a smile on his face. He's got a nimbus around his head. His arms form across, his legs form across, and he's hanging by one foot on a cross that has the plants growing out of it. So there's progress, and it's actually looks like the laurel leaves. There's 2 leaves that come with this in these symbols. So this is about accepting things as they are. Now, if we think back to the 3 of Swords in the regular little 3 of a problem, and then you think of this 3, number 12, he is accepting. He is accepting. Maybe it's a time thing. Maybe it's many other things that are going on. So all of these things that need to be sorted out. And it's sometimes you have to, it's called it's a time. Sometimes you just have to wait for the right time. We go back to the plan. We have a plan, and most people, when we make a plan for something in the Three of Pentacles, we follow the timeline of it. If you're building a house or you're doing any kind of construction of any kind, and if you're constructing in your life, you've got a time plan. I want to be here by then. Sometimes we're not there. Sometimes circumstances have worked that we're not there. And that's where the acceptance comes in, and the recognition that love still exists, still works. And then the world, which is number 21, which is a 3, 2 and 1 and 3. The world is where we have everything together. There's in number 1, there was the Wheel of Fortune. And you may remember there were 4 fixed signs in the corner of that, and they all had books because they were learning. Here, the 4 fixed signs are there, but there are no books because they've done this journey. We're looking at this journey. Well, I have somewhere taught this journey one after the other, but it's like knowing that when you get to complete, because in the Magician, which was number 1, he had his wand up high and his hand reaching down, showing as above, so below. But here she has the 2 wands balanced. She's in a laurel wreath of victory, and that will firm up later when we get to number 7. But they 4 fixed signs, no books. all the energies that are available to you of the four fixed signs, which is the four earths, the four signs of earth. So what does threes tell us? Movement in our lives. What's the movement is, or is it inward, like with the Three of Swords, and even in the Three of Pentacles, because there's nothing showing. And life does that sometimes. I mean, I know there's things I've wanted at times and thought, oh, this is not going to happen. And it's almost as soon as I let go, for me, it's not happening. Bang, there it comes in the door. So it's really about understanding how to create and to sit down and work the creation. People laugh because every end of the year, and that's coming, is I sit down and I do a reading for the year as a projection to see when, and often I don't go back and read it properly, but every now and again I do and catch up, like where was I? And I did have a few rough months show up last year. And so consequently, when I came to that and I look back, I knew what I had to do to get through those, although sometimes I still get a little, you might say, upset about things. Mainly, what I love about the threes is movement, energy, action, whether it's painful or not. But the higher arcana really says, and if we just look at the three higher arcana cards, love, acceptance of what is, brings about balance and achievement. And so then that's very, very important. And I'm just going to put these threes away for a moment. And I'm going to put out the fours so I can talk about that, because that's a very different energy. Think about fours. If you sit on the kitchen chair, it's got four legs, right? I actually am sitting on an office chair, so it doesn't really have four legs, but it has four pieces that hold it in place, hold solidity. Excuse me. And I'm going to have a drink of water before I start the fours. So four is about solidity. So, okay, three, just to put it, one is the action. Two is deciding, balancing. Do I want to go forward? Do I not? Three is moving it forward or not. And so we come to four. Four is about solidity. Thinking of the kitchen chair, you sit down and there's four legs holding you up. Now, if you were to follow 1, 2, 3 ones, we come to four, which is success. Castle of Dreams is in the background. People are coming out, dancing. There's four stakes, the wreath of it, binding the two outer stakes, and so that's important. So it's like celebration, achievement. And that's how a thought actually works. You think it, you decide whether you're going to go forward or not. You work through it, and then you celebrate it. But there's other aspects to the four. But if you stay really aware of what and how to do, those particular wand symbologies up to four work really, really well. Now, the Four of Cups, I'm going to get my finger out of the way here. There's 3 cups on the ground before the man who's sitting under a tree. His legs are crossed, his arms are crossed, and out of the air comes one cup, being offered to him. How many times are we offered something and we ignore it because it doesn't fit with what we think should be? Many times in my life, I was given opportunities. Somebody would come to me with an idea. Well, experience taught me if they came to me with an idea, I'd give them a job, because I wanted to see if they wanted me to do everything or if they were willing to work for it. And very often they were like this person here that was thinking of the idea, they didn't want to do anything. So some things I didn't go ahead with, but others I did. and had quite a bit of success with those, actually. Excuse me. Now, yeah, water, the fruit of life here. Out of the cloud, this one that's in the air, that's where we go back to our belief of creation, where we believe in the love force or not, whether we believe in the creativity that you originally put out. There's always an answer. Often we don't know what that answer is, and we don't let it in because we're stubborn. I know a lot about stubbornness. So it's like when here, the the Four of Cups, he's being incredibly stubborn. I want it this way. And if it's not this way, it's not right. And consequently, that is something here that the Four of Cups, as we will see as we move on next week, it's very important, the acceptance of what comes in and then the deciding of it. And the decisions often come in the sword symbology. The Four of Swords. Jeepers, I'm sorry about my throat. It was been good. Now it's deciding to cumber up on me. Well, I guess I'm doing a lot of talking. Anyway, bear with me. The Four of Swords. Swords represent problems and challenges. Three swords. And if we remember the Three of Swords back here is all dark with three swords in and it's unhappy. But here he's lying inside, sort of meditating, we could say, with one sword below him, making four. But the key here is the window. In the window, there is I think it was a lady. Yeah, it's a lady who's talking to a child. There's a line, again, communication. So this has a lot about communication with yourself, the coming to terms with the issue, the problem, how, what, when, or where. Not perhaps getting all down and, I can't get up and do something because all this terrible stuff has happened to me, but rather listening to the inner, because it's the night. Sorry, a little bit aside. When I was in England, looking at the chapels and the old churches, they had people buried in where I had to work. That was the hardest part for me. But they had people lying just like this guy, just like this knight, lying beside, like they're encased in here. And it really threw me a little bit. But it was like, oh, I'm walking over dead people and I'm looking at dead people, not in sort of flesh like you or I, but in the way it was, I really did a number of myself on my head for a wee while. But if you ever want to see that, down in, I think it's Kent, south of London anyway, there's a big Salisbury, big church in Salisbury, and there's lots of these. But anyway, the key is the answer lies within you. Sometimes we get so busy, like threes who tend to be busy because they're action, movement, even if you're not really thinking you're doing any and you're locked in your own misery. Here it's saying, take time, communicate with yourself, and resolve those issues. The answer lies within you. I always have said to my students, we always know our own answer. We don't like them. And why don't we like them? Because we have to do something. And we don't want to do something. We want it to miraculously disappear and be how we want it or whatever. But really, in a sense, it's like resolve it inside. Because remember, in the Three of Swords, there was three swords and it was a heart and it was miserable. You're upset. And now it's saying, okay, you've got to take time to resolve that. You've got to take time to resolve that pain, that hurt, whatever it may be. Breathe. And the inner communication, which is displayed in the window, will take place. You will be inspired. You will get an answer. And often when I've had to go inside for some answers, they've always come. Didn't like them always, but they came. Now, the Pentacles, remember material affairs, money. What's this guy doing? And I want you to remember this because next Wednesday, when we do numbers 5 and 6, this card plays a big part in the Pentacle journey. He's sitting there with a pentacle in front of him, a pentacle on his head, and 2 pentacles under his feet, and his town is behind him. So he's accomplished, But what he's doing is what we call holding on. Now, it's a little bit of philosophy here. Life moves, does not like stagnation. Very often things occur when you become stagnated, and it can happen. You can get caught in, well, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be forever. Not always. It may be for a long time, but something will change. But it will definitely shift, as we will see next week, if you're holding on to what you've got. And you think, this is it. Everything is here. It's all I need. Well, I do need my glass of water, right? I do need my cards if I'm going to read. Although I can do some readings without cards, that's for sure. So there's all these things. So it's a very important element to remember, because 4's a stability. The 4 of Wands, stable ideas. The 4 of Cups, because it's values. So the value, the meaning, the emotionality, we'll say. You got 3 of what you're trying to hold on to. 1 is being offered to you. No, don't want that. I want this. So when we get not wanting to increase or to offer in or bring new ideas in, new concepts, new value, whatever, then we get stuck. 4 of Swords, need to resolve those issues that happened in the 3. Need to go inside, meditate, understand them, come to some resolving. Because if you don't, next week we'll see why. And also, don't become miserly with your love, with your money. I know it's about money here, but with your love, with your compliments, don't get miserly. I've done that sometimes when I've gone into a depression over something, and I forgot to live. I forgot to say, that looks nice. Have a good day. Enjoy. I used to say enjoy all the time to people. So guess what I was doing? I was enjoying life. And then, a few knocks and it's almost suddenly you forget. So you can become like this 4 of Pentacles where you hold on to everything because you don't want to lose. You don't want change. But life is about change in a way. And so what it's showing here is how in this 4 is that if you come down. So, okay, let's look at the higher arcana. The Emperor. Now look at the Emperor. Remember the Empress from last week? Oh, no, it wasn't here. Sorry, it wasn't last week. We just did it. Hold on. Let me just find her. She is so beautiful. Okay, here's the Empress of 3. And here's the Emperor of 4. Now, in 3 is about the love force and everything flourishing and opening. Here, nope. We're going to clamp down. It's going to be this way. Now, it's funny. When I was working with these way back, I put the key on this as experience because he's become like his throne, a stone, just sitting there, no movement. And what happens when you don't move, and I know about that, everything kind of seals up. It's also, he's got experience by the orb. It's in this other hand. And he's got the Crusta and Saturn, which shows the spirituality. It also shows in his head where his crown has an Aries sign, which is an astrological sign. Stubborn, set, experience. Experience very often makes people lose faith, actually. And sometimes they'll hold on to a faith in something, but it's rigid. And that's one thing to be aware of, that you're not getting rigid, that it has to be this way or it's supposed to be that way or whatever. Because you have rigidity, it's like you become like this guy, a little bit like stone, no flexibility, excuse me, no flexibility at all. Which in the threes you have is flexibility. Well, we want you to have flexibility. The other element of 4 is the death symbol. Now, I like this symbol. It took me a long time to get to really understand it. A white horse moves over a battleground. The skeleton is encased in a black knight suit, but the little red thing on the back of his trousers hanging down. He's got a flag. In some ways, it's death because he's leaving behind the old. But look what's in front of him. One person is actually on the ground dead. One person looks like a preacher again, and one is a woman and a little child. The aspects that we have within us. The kneeling down as he moves across. What this shows really is you're moving from one condition to another, but you're not there yet. And because you're not there yet, it's like you can get solidified in like never getting there. So it's 5 is movement, change, awareness. And this is probably one of the biggest movement cards that there are. There's some other ones, of course, but this one here is when you are not, well, you're moving through something in your life. Now, for those of you who have listened to me on Monday nights when I do mental mind treatments and things, this is number 13. Why is it with 4s? It should have been in the other one. Oh, well, that's interesting. What did I do wrong? I thought I had, probably me. Anyway, it shows change out of the old into the new. And very often people pick this number because I asked for 3 numbers off the top of their head. And it shows they're in transition. There's several symbols that show transition. And this is one of them. You're coming out from the old into the new, but it's a journey and you're not there yet. So you have to have perseverance. You have to keep your vision in mind. You have to be in the direction that you're heading in. And I am sorry I messed up on that. Oh, I think I don't know whatever happened there. Anyway, so where did I put the other one? I thought I had it all organized. I spent several minutes getting it organized. But anyway, we come to the Fool. In the work I do when they're picking numbers, this is 22. And 22 is the Fool. Here it's a 0. And the way it's placed, when I was teaching classes, I'd lay the Hierophant cards down in a big circle. And I would have each person walk so the symbol was between both their feet. So they could feel the different energy and they would walk it, knowing the story. And when they come to the Fool would then take them back into the Magician again, which was number 1. Now, yes, it's done as 0 because it walks through everything. Faith. Do we have faith to move ahead? Do we have faith to go forward? And then the symbolism in this card is like a man dressed very gaily. And I should show you this. Has a rose in one hand. He has his staff, which comes from the hermit. He has his, they call it the karmic bag. He has a headdress that's very similar to what's in the sun, which is number 19 symbol. He has a dog gapping at his heel. And if you think of the moon, the symbol, that it has a dog and a wolf. And it's like the world yaps at you to be a certain way. And yet the value of who you are, where you're heading and where you're going is really what is important, of the direction of where you're going. So it's really all about understanding the journey of life. That's what the tarot is all about. Understanding how the journey flows and what happens if you're not flowing with it. Now, in number 3, maybe that's the one I missed. Oh, is it this Empress symbol from number 3? This is the love vibration. And when you connect into the love vibration, now you can call this anything you want. God, Allah. I've taught so many people from different religions. It's unbelievable. But it's like whatever that belief is, if it has a loving heart that grows into your heart so that you can love not only yourself, but others and understand others, your life will flourish. You will be like this empress who sits on the corn, on the wheat. You will have your heart. You will achieve what you're wanting to do. But if you choose to get like this guy, set, angry, wanting it to be your way, not liking it if it isn't, because that can happen with disappointment. Remember in the 3, if you have a disappointment, you get sad, you lock up, there's no light, there's no love, you forget. I don't know anybody's life where we don't go through hurt and pain, where our dreams get dashed and we think they're never going to happen. But there's a saying I used to say, you pick yourself up. There's a song, I forget which one it is, but you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you start all over again. That shows the value of who you are in your journey of where you're heading and where you're going. I found when I began to study these from a different way, actually, than what I was originally taught, but I began to look at them as patterns. When I saw that, the patterns that were there, what I began to realize is that if you understand how the patterns work, you can correct where you're tripping up. We will see over and over again. I see it on Monday nights when the people get this death symbol, weeks in a row sometimes, showing they're still leaving behind the old. But we haven't got to number 7 yet, which also represents leaving the past behind. There are times when we have to leave the past behind. I, at the tender age of 18, left my home country because I was in love to come to be with my husband, which became my husband when I got here, and raise our children. And although I have visited back to the family many, many times, Canada is my home. So it's like we move from one many times. I mean, I've done different jobs, and then I became a professional. I had created a business with a partner, and then that broke down. So I did them all by myself for a long time. So it's like moving on. If you get stuck in your life, as we will progress to next week, which will be, what are we looking at? 6 and 7, I think, is what we look at next week. And even though we look at these little pieces, I want to begin to get the correlation of that life as a journey. And we do get stuck, and that we can move forward, but paramountly that there is an energy of love that is there if you choose it. If you choose to feel it within you. I was fortunate. I ran into it very early in my studies. I took a course, and during that course, I ran into that universal love energy, and I knew I had to get that inside me. And yes, I'm very heady, I'm very analytical, I'm very all those things, but I know that force exists, and I know that many of us create to be able to do things with that force. But we're human. And so we all must love ourselves for our humanness, where we get stuck, where we want things our way and not another way, where we get angry because people don't see the way we see, when we get just sort of depressed because how can this ever be resolved? Sometimes you have to hand things over to the, well, I call it the light or God or that love force. Know that that love force exists. And it's lovely if you move with it. Doesn't mean we always do what we're supposed to do. Doesn't mean that we're correct all the time. But it does mean we know that there is love. And where there is love, there is growth and there is progress. And on that note, I am going to end, but I'm going to end reminding, and I have to say to Karen B, thank you and good morning to you. I want, if you have enjoyed the things, please remember to press the subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed the program, press the thumbs up, because we often forget to do that, and it's very, very important for my channel that you do that. So I'm trying to, people tell me, make sure you say that, and I forget because I get caught up in what I'm saying and then how to end and move out. But I want you to know that I'm going to endeavor to remember the subscriptions and thumbs up. I want to thank you for watching this. I know many people come back and watch things later, and I appreciate that. So you have a great day and enjoy. And our friends in the U.S., your new president's being elected. So that's one thing that's completed. Canada's still waiting. We haven't done ours yet. Lots of love. Bye now.